certainly try to not have to do that though. Go. I think we are live on YouTube now. All right, here we go. So whether you're on a team or not on a team, it doesn't matter. Teamwork makes the dream work. Whether you're just a solo agent in a brokerage or you're on a team, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's the same general concept that I want to talk about today. Love that book. Ideal Team Player. Love it. Hungry, humble, and people smart. Are you hungry? Meaning you're hungry to get another escrow going. You're hungry to meet new people so you can get more business over time. You're hungry to get things going, right? You're hungry to get things moving. Okay. Are you humble? Meaning you're willing to listen and learn. If you're in this call today or you're watching this on YouTube, you're obviously hungry. You're ready to listen. You're ready to learn. You want to get things going in your business. So you are humble. You're willing to say, I don't know what I don't know. Teach me. When I first got my license, I always like to bring up my amazing mentor, Kevin Blaine. I mean, who better to learn from? The guy who was the #1 real estate agent in Central California, ultimately #1 real estate agent in all of California, and ultimately #1 real estate agent in all of the United States at KW at the time in the team category. Great mentor. Who doesn't want to rub elbows with him? When he offered me an opportunity to join his team, I was brand new, just got my license, and he's the one that told me how to get my license. He said, I've never had a part-time agent. All I can pay is 40%. So 40% is what you get on anything you close. And I said, sold. Can you believe that? If someone told you 40% today, you'd be like, pfft. But think about it this way. Hungry, humble. I was humble because I'm going to be taught by the #1 real estate in the area to teach me everything he's done to become the #1 agent. Okay. So I was humble and I said, I don't care. Just teach me. I want to learn everything. I don't care. I'll do it for free. Just teach me. I don't care. Eventually pay me, but just teach me. And I didn't even question it. I just wanted to learn. So that's the humble part, right? And I'm not saying you have to go do that, right? That you don't have to be me, but it was how my mindset was. I just wanted to learn. So that's the humble. The people smart is what we're going to talk about today. We have to learn how to talk to people. And we have a few different retired law enforcement officers on this call today. I love law enforcement officers because you got to think about this. Are they trained on the disc? Absolutely not. Are they trained in mirror and matching? Absolutely not. Are they trained to talk to people? Absolutely not. And some of them do a crappy job when they first get hired. And they either make it or they don't. But one of the biggest things with a law enforcement officer is their on-the-job training. They go through an extensive FTO and they get to see the right way to talk to people, the right way to deal with situations. I mean, there's some training in the academy, but not the streets. I mean, that's street smarts. You have to have the street smarts. You have to be able to know how to talk to people. You have to know how to be able to deal with different people. And so the law enforcement officers, retired law enforcement officers on this call will tell you that, yeah, it was trial by fire. I just had to learn that I got this, gangbanger that's, I just took a gun off of. I got him sitting on the curb with handcuffs. And how am I going to get him to be okay with me putting the dang handcuffs on him when he's MFing me? All right, how am I going to do that? How am I going to get him to comply when he is telling me off and he potentially has a gun? How about the old grandma that got her hose stolen? They talk about that in the academy. They always bring up the old grandma that had got a hose stolen. How do I be good to her when I just left a call for service of a gangbanger that I had to get him to be okay with me putting handcuffs on him? That's two totally different. One of the calls I got this week from a realtor was, hey, Shawn, can you work with I might have this person I might want to have you work with or someone on your team, because I just can't work with them. We just don't, we clash. We just don't work. You're giving up a lead because you don't know how to mirror and match. And that's a problem. That's why I thought today would be a good idea to rehash this, to learn a little bit about how to mirror and match. One moment you're dealing with gangbanger. One moment you're dealing with grandma that got her home stolen. You're gonna have to go talk to grandma the same way you talk to the gangbanger. And you're gonna have to deal with those two different people in your industry. You're gonna go for showing a buyer that is a specific behavioral, and we got to get them to understand that you are the right person for the job. If you go to that grandma who's talking very slow and she's not very trustworthy because she's been taken advantage of because a while back somebody stole $10 million, or not, that would be a lot, $10,000 from her retirement because they talked her into doing something. So she's very nervous, but she knows she needs to sell her house. And so you've got to be able to get down to her level and understand where she's at. And if you're talking fast and moving fast and you're like, trying to get them to move fast, you're going to fail. She's never going to be comfortable with you. If you got some high D personality person, type A personality person, let's call them a car salesman. And what we call a used car salesman. That's fine. If you're a car salesman on here, used to be a car salesman, don't take that as bad. You think you're good. I think in a way you think you're good. Right? Oh my gosh, there goes my screen again. I'm sorry, guys. This camera likes to shut itself off every so often. So yeah, you got to know how to deal with that person at the same time. Now, if you're talking to that person the way you're talking to the grandma, that person's going to think you're not worth crap. You're not a good realtor. You don't know what the flip you're doing. How you can't even keep up with me? How are you going to do it? So I'm going to show you the basic ways to do it today. And I'm going to use what I use best, and that's the disc. All right. If you don't know the disc, you don't know the disc. I'm going to start off with, and as you grow your business, okay, one of the first most important things that you do is you hire an admin. Unless you're on a team, the admin typically pays for that for you, which is a great thing because your business partners with your team leader and your team leader is paying for it. You're still paying for it. It's going to come out of a commission split, but that's fine because it's best spent business that you're going to pay for one way or the other. And so if the team leader knows what they're doing and they do a good job and they do the hiring and they're paying W-2 employees and they're paying workers' compensation and all that stuff and they're okay with doing it and you just reap the benefit, great place to be. But if you're that one and you're the one having to do that and you're the one stroking out those big strokes payments, let's just say I just hired another employee, just did for Legacy Real Estate, our brokerage in California, just hired another one. The first thing I have everyone do when I send out my ads to hire is I will not talk to them unless they complete a disc. Because there's certain people that are very, very good at working the office staff, or at working in the administrative staff. And there's certain people that are not. Now, anything above the 50% line is what this person is. I'm not going to scroll up and show you because this was one of the best employees I had ever hired. Okay, this was years ago. And the reason why I hired them, the reason why I chose to interview them next was because they were an SCCS. Because an administrative assistant is really good at, like, they could be a high C, and you would think, like, okay, typically a high C, if I scroll this down a little bit, right here, is very cautious, okay, perfectionist, systematic, careful, analytical, orderly, neat, balanced, independent, a little bit rebellious, a little bit careless. But it's crazy that a little bit careless and rebellious, and they're very challenging, meaning they will challenge you, okay? They will challenge you if they think something is not right. I'm a little surprised at the rebellious and carelessness because typically high C is not, but hey, it's in there for a reason. So that has something to do with the all of it, right, put together. A high C as an administrative staff, they're going to be very analytical, but I can tell them, hey, I want you to go through this module series on how to be an administrative assistant. I want you to go through this module series on how to do social media and digital marketing. And I want you to do exactly what it says, exactly how it's teaching you. Go. And they'll do it. If I did that to a high I, who's very gregarious, persuasive, inspiring, enthusiastic, very, very sociable, poised, charming, convincing, conflictive, matter of fact, reserved, so very social. Okay, if I did that to a high I, they would be like, they would not finish the modules. The high C will probably finish the modules in 24 hours and they'll be doing the job. The high I will not. Got a few people trying to get this. Let me add them in here real quick. Okay, we're good. So if that makes any sense at all, the disc tells a huge story about people and how they're gonna react, how they're gonna work the job, how they're gonna do things when it comes to hiring. Now the high D Same thing. You know, they're going to probably try to run the business. I hired a ID a while back, not realizing I hired a ID, and I found out that everything was in that person's name. Our entire business was in their name. And when they left, I had to go back and re-get everything back in my name. It was a pain in the rear. They weren't putting things in my name like they should have been. They were putting them in their own name, like they were the owner of the company. Not because they were being manipulative. That's just their mindset. It's faster, it's easier. They're very fast. They're driving, they're forceful, they're daring, they're determined, they're competitive, they're responsive, they're uh, inquisitive, they're conservative, they're mild, they're agreeable. Okay, maybe agreeable, but as you can see, that's towards the bottom. Up here towards the top, this is what they really are. They're driving force. And they want to get the job done and get it done fast. They don't want to wait. Okay, they want to get things moving. And this individual did. And I appreciate everything this individual did. Like, I am so thankful. But when they left, it was really hard on me. I had to go back and get everything changed over in my name, and it was such a pain. All right. So the high D is that driving force. High I is the party guy, party girl, I like to say. They like to be around groups and they're very sociable. The high S is very stable, predictive, passive, complacent. And you know, I am an S. When I was in the academy, they had to call me in one day and they said, "Hey, look, you're not going to make it in the streets unless you toughen up." They told me that. That was what the director told me. You got to toughen up or you're not going to make it. So I changed my behavioral quite a bit from when I first took it. I was high I big time. I had a little bit of I in there. I'm sorry, high S. A little bit of I, but all S. And I still have a lot of high S, but I have a lot of I now. I have a lot of more D in there because law enforcement brought that out of me. And then I have, but it's still below the 50%, so it's still not considered my personality. And I have a lot more C in there now too. Back then though, if I would have taken it, I would have been all S. I just wasn't getting in front of you guys and talking like we are right now. I definitely wouldn't have been doing that either. Sorry about that. Shut off again. Wouldn't have been doing that either. Would have been a little bit scary for me. So this individual right here, this disc is actually somebody that I hired. It was a perfect hire, best hire I ever had. She was very stable, structured. She did a great job being on the team. The teamwork makes the dream work mentality was very important to this person, and they could just do anything. Now, you would think if they're social butterflies, social media, they need a lot of I in there. Not the case. If you're hiring somebody, that's CS, they're teachable, very teachable people. You could just give it to them and they'll do it, get the job done. If they had too much I in there, like I had somebody, a lot of you guys know my previous manager at Cardoza Real Estate Group in California. She was a lot of I. She was amazing, but she was so sociable that she would get stressed out if we gave her too much work. And I hated doing that to her. Love her to death, and I hated stressing her out. And so it was really tough sometimes. We would have some crying going on. She we would, because she would get overwhelmed. So this SCCS will not get overwhelmed. Guys, I'm teaching this for a reason. I'm teaching this because I want you to understand personalities and how they affect you. How they're going to affect you when it comes to signing. How it's going to affect you when you're trying to get the listing. Now, I'm going to show you another one because I want to show you what a really good realtor looks like. Okay, show you this one. Now, this one kind of confuses me a little bit because he was the chief of police. You'd think he'd be all D, right? Yep, shaking his head. You think
I could be deep, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, well, there you go right there because you're close. So it was there enough. It was there enough to be able to be usable for the position you were in. But the one thing that I liked about this guy was he was the best shift I ever had in my entire life was working on his shift because he was the high S. Now that I understand the disc, I didn't know it back then, but now that I understand it and I can read through it with my eyes closed, um, that was he was crazy teachable. So if you guys want to be taught, you guys should reach out to Wes Henley because he's a very teachable individual. He used to take one of us on the shift, and he would say, "You're going to ride with me today. You're driving, and you're going to be the shift supervisor today." What flippin' sergeant does that? He took it opportunities, and I know your head is getting really big right now, Wes, but that's okay. You deserve it, my friend. You
I don't want
you deserve this. This was one of the most unique things. I'd never seen it before, and you probably will never see it. He would take each one, he would take each one of us cops, and he would make us be the shift supervisor. But he's sitting there in the passenger seat. But what's he doing is he's teaching growth. He's teaching leaders. He's teaching leaders. He's very teachable. That's an S. It's a great thing to have right there. Now, if I want to hire someone as a realtor, you would think I would want all D because you think realtors are going to be top producers. Not the case. They can be, yeah. High D's can be top producers, but they're typically car salesmen, and you got to be careful because they'll get you in trouble. They'll get you sued. High D's will get you sued as a broker owner. All right. So I'm a little careful. I watch them close because especially one that doesn't have much C in it like this, you're way low on the C, West. That's funny. That confuses
yeah, crazy.
that confuses. Because if they have all D and no C, then that means they're very sloppy in the paperwork. Wes is not sloppy. He's very analytical. So that really surprises me. That's probably a goof up. As
I had to learn to be that. It wasn't who I was, right?
God.
It's a learned thing.
And that's exactly it. That's the same thing with me. I had to kind of learn how to be a little tougher. And it still freaked me out every time I had to deal with that. I sometimes I'd come across too rough because I was forcing myself to be tougher. And that's not good. Oh man. Ask my daughters. They tell me all the time I'm a jerk. Because I'm trying to be a leader. I'm trying to like lead them and I get a little too rough and I get a little too angry and I shouldn't. Because I'm forcing myself to be, more stern than I need to be, more stern than I need to be. But yeah, if you had a high D and low C, that's somebody that's going to probably get you sued as a realtor. They're not compliant. They're writing sloppy paper. I remember at KW, an agent to this day was newer in the business, and he thought he could build a team. There's no new agents that should ever be building a team. No, and they think they just want to make money off of agents, and that's not what a team's all about. A team is all about having a bunch of business partners that work together to better each other. And this particular agent, I'll never say names, thought that he was brand new in the business and he can build a team and he just wanted to make money off of agents. He didn't want to work. And so he goes in there, starts a team, and the broker of record came up to me and said, Shawn, look at this. What's wrong with this? And he shows me his listing agreement. Now, back then, now we have changes in the way we do listing agreements. You'd have the total amount of commission being paid at the top, and on the bottom, how much of that are you giving to a co-op, a cooperative broker agreement you have with another buyer's agent, buyer's broker. Like how much are you willing to pay out of that percentage of the top and the bottom? And so you had to have the total at the top. This was a team leader, guys, a guy that thought he should be a team leader. At the top, it had 3%. At the bottom, it had 3%. How much he's given to an agent. How much was he making? Zero. He wasn't making anything. He was giving all of his commission to the buyer's agent, unless he was the buyer's agent. Now that's how we used to write contracts up until about a year and a half ago, or a year and a half ago. Now, of course, we just do our percentage as the listing agent and buyer's agent has to negotiate it. But back then, it was like, okay, so how could you write such bad paper? He was all D. He thought that he should be just leading everybody and that everybody should be following him. So a good agent has a good mix of these things, but a really good agent is typically a really good high SI or IS. That is the key. Anything above the 50% line is what you are. So this is an excellent agent. Wes has no problem talking to everyone out there. He's very sociable. He likes talking to people. I would say he probably needs, since he's only at 60% though, his adaptive ability is a little bit higher, means how he is around other people, how when he thinks he's being observed is higher than he really is. So what if you guys know Wes, take this into consideration that sometimes Wes needs to shut down. He needs to shut down and take a breather. He needs to get away from people every once in a while. Because that's how he is in front of everybody, but how he really truly is, he's not as high of an I, which means sometimes I's, Kevin Blaine was this way. He would need to shut down every so often. He wasn't as high as I as people think he was. He needed some alone time to have a break and just get in his own thoughts and kind of shut stuff out. So that's good to know, Wes. I love that you're letting us look at this because that's something that I didn't notice before. That's something that you guys should notice with Wes if you're with them. That doesn't mean you don't reach out to him and check in on him. You need to. It's a good thing. But just know sometimes he needs to decompress, which we all probably need to do that from time to time. But great disc, perfect disc, I would say, for an agent. Great IS personality. I love that. That's a good one. I'm going to stay on Wes's though, because I want to talk about how you deal with this when you're dealing with a buyer and seller. Now, if you are going to a listing appointment, you're competing against 3 other agents, and they tell you up front, I'm competing. Number one, you should automatically think I'm probably walking into a D, someone with a high D. We call this cop talk because cops talk in 10 codes to other cops, JCATs and stuff like that, 1096s and different things. That's how cops talk. Okay, so we kind of call it cop talk, but really, as realtors, you can do the same thing using the disc. I'm going into a listing appointment. This guy says yeah, you're one of 5 agents you're meeting with. Let's say 5. Oh crap, this guy's got to be a high D. So I already know I've got a high D I'm possibly dealing with. I step into that appointment right away. This guy is he's talks pretty fast. He's moving fast. He's acting like he's gonna get the best deal possible here. Interviewing agents, yeah, whoever give me the best deal, that's what I'm gonna go with. These little things should keep going off in your head, light bulbs. That this is definitely a D, definitely a D, definitely a D. Sometimes a D looks like a C though, but they wouldn't be so talkative. They were a C. They were a C. They'd be a little more standoffish, protecting themselves. They'd have a little more of a barrier up. They'd be quieter, and you'd be trying to figure out how to get some conversations going with them. You'd be trying to find something in common. And if you find something in common that they really truly love, you got them. Not that you got them in a good way, but you got them to understand that you're trustworthy, who you really are, As a C is going to be very guarded. They're not going to want to put their guard down. They're not going to want to show you their financials. They're not going to want to do anything. They're going to be very careful and analytical. And so that's the difference between a D and a C. So because sometimes they look alike, because they're both going to try to get the best deal possible. They're both going to negotiate with you on your commission. But the C is doing it for the purposes that they know it down to the number how much they need to get out of this house to buy their next house or to buy their next move or to invest into something. Whatever it is they're looking to do, they know down to the number they have it penciled out. The D does not. They don't care. They don't care. They just want to get the best deal. The D is the one that comes to you and says, check out my new truck. I just got this amazing Harley Davidson edition truck. That dates you because that's an old truck. Actually, I think they do still make it with Fords. But I got this killer deal. This guy, yeah, I got him below sticker price. He thought he was going to hold me to that price, and I got it down, $10,000 below sticker price. And man, he had nothing to say, and I got a killer deal. That's your D. Yeah, they think they got a good deal. But really, they were probably willing to go down anyway. 100%. They're willing to go down anyway. But hey, what do you do with the D? You let them think they won. You let them think they win. Maybe you were willing to go down to 2.5% anyway, and you let them think they won. You might negotiate it a little bit with them. They try to come in at 2%. Maybe they try to come in with 1%. Hey, the other guy will do it 1%. You're going to have to show them why you're worth the extra 2.5%. Whatever, or 2%. Whatever, you know what I mean. You got to show them why you're worth your value. So you get in there with that D and you start negotiating with them and talking with them. And that's going to be an important thing. But guess what? Once you come to an agreement, they're going to sign the paperwork so fast, they're not even going to care what's on the paper. You're going to have to force them to look at the bold sections of that document to make sure you disclosed it to them because they're not going to care. They're going to sign so fast. Just tell me where to sign. They're going to be turning pages. They're already putting the initial on when you turn the page, they're already initial. Now a C will not do that. They're going to have you go over each page word for word, then they're going to pick it up and they're going to start reading it. And you're going to be like, I just read it word for word. And they're going to be like, yeah, but I like to read it first before I sign. And then they'll finally initial once they sign. And then you go to the next one and you'll do it again, each page, one page at a time. That's your C. So the C is very similar in the fact that, yeah, you're going to have to do a little negotiation. You're going to have to work a little harder to get that relationship with them. But then once you do, they're going to read it word for word before they initial and sign. The D will not. They'll sign quick. How about your I? Your I, you're going to sit in there. They're going to list with you. They probably aren't meeting with anyone else unless it's a social event. They're gonna probably list with you, but you're gonna struggle doing the paperwork because you're gonna be sitting here saying, okay, let's go over this paperwork. All right, so this is an agency relationship, so I have a fiduciary obligation, utmost care to you. Make sure that I'm always disclosing things to you. We're always talking. We're doing all that stuff. And they're gonna go, oh, I dealt with a situation like that 5 years ago, and oh my gosh, this is what happened. Oh, and you're gonna be like, all right, I gotta round this person back in, so they'll sign the damn paperwork. So I got another appointment. That's your I. Your S is awesome. I'm an S. We're awesome. I'm sorry. Your S is pretty awesome. So your S is going to be very stable. They're trustworthy. They believe in you, but you do have to show them that you believe in the same morals, ethics. You believe in the same things that that they believe in, which is being honest, integrity, all that stuff. That's your S. And once you do, they're not going to read word for word, but they are going to scan it. They're going to scan it with you. You just got to show them the bold, show them the most important things, and then they'll sign in the end. I hope that helps you right there. If that's all you take away with today, understanding personalities is huge in mirror and matching. I just want to make sure you're able to do that and get to know people. I'm going to tell you a little bit today about how we kind of put this together. I'm going to put my tactical, like my little bit of tactics in there, okay? There's a lot of things that we got to remember when we're mirroring matching people. Emotional intelligence is very important. People are doing a huge sell in their business. This is huge. This isn't little. This is big. And because it's such a big sell, we got to really take care of them and do it in a way that they trust us. And so because of that, we've got to, the first thing I do when I walk into a new listing is I walk the house, not because I want to see the floor plan. Of course, I'm looking at that. But what I'm looking for is how I can connect me and this person. If I see they have an Australian Shepherd, I have an Australian Shepherd. If I see they have horses and pictures, I'm gonna comment on they have horses and how we're way into horses. Dirt bike riding, yeah, whatever it is, I'm gonna do whatever I can do to kind of connect them. I'm gonna ask them where they're from. Asking questions and slowing down is gonna help you to be able to get to that finish line quicker. So the first thing I do is I look for the table, the kitchen table, not the table in a room where it's fancy with the glassware and stuff on it. The one that's the one you can tell they sit on often. Probably has a lot of papers on it if they're a little bit messy. If they're an I, it probably has a lot of papers on it. So then you want to go and say, hey, is it okay to put my stuff down here? Yep, because that's where you want to finish this walkthrough. Walk through, get to know them, find out who they are. There's an emotional connection going on to this house, and you got to treat it that way. So get to know them, get to know their why. Why are they doing this? Slow down and find out their why. We call this tactical empathy. Tactical. You got to be tactical in how you're doing this. So tactical empathy. Let's see. There's a couple different great books. Vicarious Liability, great book. Law of Human Nature, great book. Never Split the Difference, very good book. I read that. And a lot of this I'm getting from that Never Split the Difference book. Labeling, demonstrating that you understand. So as we slow down and we start going through things, we want to demonstrate that we understand what they're going through. Does that mean that we actually say, I went through this a while ago and this is what happened, and this is what happened to me. I understand what you're going through. Yeah, sometimes you do that. Sometimes you actually, connect you to them because you've been through that type of situation. Sometimes that could hurt though. You got to be careful. But usually connecting you to them shows that you don't understand what they're going through. Now, if it's a difficult situation, you know, where you say, kind of like if there's a death in the family and someone lost a close family member, and you say, I totally understand what you're going through. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's not good. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a situation where you've been through a situation of selling a difficult house, of selling a house in that neighborhood. You know the neighborhood really, really well. I did a buyer agent call, three-way call with Vicki Livingston yesterday. And so we did a three-way call where I was passing on a buyer over to Vicki, and we were talking, and Vicki did an amazing job. The first thing I did was I tried to find out more about them. Why? Why are they doing this? What are they looking for? Why do they want to get out in the country? Why are they selling this house and they want to buy this house? What's going on? Why? And so I'm trying to find out more about them so that I can use that for many months to come, or hopefully less than many months to come. But then Vicky jumps on and she starts talking and she says, it is so funny that you're looking in that area because I'm actually from there. I know this exact property. I used to live here. I grew up here. And next thing you know, her and the buyer, I chose a great job. Well, she was the next in line, but I chose a good job. I wish I could say I chose, but because they meshed, they knew the area, they hit it off, they had that connection. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you got to search hard to find it. Don't give up and say, I don't want to work with this client. Work hard to find a connection. You will always find a connection if you work at it and find what makes you guys mesh together. That one just happened to work out. And I love that she brought it up because it was whether she lived there for 2 or 3 years or lived there for 10 years, it doesn't matter. She brought it up and it was a good thing to bring up. It connected them. That was great. All right, so demonstrating by listening to what they are saying and asking questions to determine how they're feeling, then validate by asking questions. I did that on the call yesterday. So right away, she brought up and started talking about, she needs this, she needs that, this is why she needs this. So I go, totally get that. So yeah, I understand when you're needing to move into the country property because you're wanting to have a little more room and you're okay with having a mobile home to start, because that's what she said, because you're going to build up your future dream home on the property. And she goes, exactly. That's what she said. Her exact words. And I went like this. She didn't know it because it was a phone call, but I went, right? I'm excited. I got what I needed. We connected. It happened. But if I didn't repeat, they call it parroting, what they said, that what opportunity wouldn't happen. What if I would have said it wrong? Then she would have said, no, 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 no. What I meant was this. So then what do? I repeat it again to make sure I got it. I want to validate our connection. Our communication is key. I want to validate that we're on the same page and we're all working in unison. It's so important. So repeat back what they say in every call you make when you have a new buyer or seller. Repeat it. Be sure on the same page. If you've been through it before, then say it. So that was my next thing. Now I love to throw tactical into everything I do. Tactics is key. All right. So here we go. Tactical past, tactical present, tactical future pleasure, and tactical future pain. So Brian Eisenhower does a great job at this. Eisenhower Coaching and Consulting. Highly suggest ICC. You want your individual one-on-one coaching, hit up Brian. You want it. He says past, present, future pleasure, and future pain is what you're looking for. Those are the questions. If you're not sure how to get into these conversations, write these down ahead of time on a piece of paper before you make a call. Past, leave a space. Present, leave a space. Future pleasure, leave a space. Future pain. I throw a spin on it and I say, you need to tactically find out about their past. How do you tactically do it? You ask questions. You need to tactically find out about their future pleasure or their presence, where they're currently at. You need to tactically find out their future pleasure and tactically find out their future pain. What if you're not able to do this sell? What if we're unable to sell your house or for the price you want, and you find that perfect house? What's that going to do for you? How's it going to affect your family? You need to ask that question. It's a very important question because then you're going to find out how much pain there really is if this doesn't happen, and you're going to be able to bring that back to them later. Circle back to it. So good. Anyway, finding ideas for questions. You need to look around. That's the important part about looking around the house because you're going to find out a lot of ways to get these when you're in the walkthrough. Find a lot of ways to do this. But if you're not there, then write those down, past, present, future pleasure, future pain, and then make sure you get those questions answered. That's going to help you kind of come up with those questions to ask. Like an investigator, you must learn everything about the individual before starting the process. So we do this back in investigation school is, if I went in there and I just said right away, hey, I know you did it, you just need to confess. You're an idiot. You need to confess. Am I going to get what I want? No. But if I go in there and I'm like, hey, I heard you got like a family over there. Yeah. So how's your family doing through all this? This must be tough. How you been? Tell me a little bit about how this is affecting you. And I get to know them a little bit and I spend some time with them. And there's no hurry here. There's no rush. So yeah, so I imagine this is probably causing a little bit of pain right now, right? And I'm getting to know them and I'm asking questions, right? And I'm here to learn a little bit about their past and where they're currently at in your life. Yeah. So where you been? What's been happening? How you doing right now? All right. So, you know, what have you guys got planned? What are you looking to do next? Where are you looking to go? Okay, got it. Yeah. So I understand it's important to move to Tennessee. Awesome. Okay, great. What's that going to do for you if you're not able to move? Yeah, you are going to have to pay those California gas prices of $7 a gallon. Sorry, Wes. Sorry, Californians. Um, that's a major pain right now. I've heard that 3 times this week from Californians. Again yesterday, again this morning. Oh my gosh, just crazy. That's a major pain. Um, Electricity, major pain. So if you guys are going to be dealing in Idaho about a lot of Californians moving over, these are some of the major questions you should be talking about. There's a reason why they're making this big move. Active listening, not selective listening. You're not just selecting what to listen to, you're actively listening to what they're saying and repeating back what they're telling you. Moving through their needs analysis. You got to move through their needs analysis to find the solution. It's not about you. You can't just input your personality. You got to input their personality, DISC. Who are they? Mirror and match them. If you're in front of them, lean on the table. If they're leaning on the table, lean back. I had a BNI group meeting today and with a lender, and I was monitoring. I'm very careful on the lean, guys. This has been driven home to me. If I'm doing this on the table and they're leaning back, they feel like I'm going to jump in their lap. They feel attacked. If I was a criminal investigator, this would be bad. We want them to feel comfortable, so I'm going to lean back. If they're leaning forward, I'm going to lean forward. It's interesting. Now we're in a good conversation. We're talking. So know your body language means a lot on how you're dealing with people. If they're talking fast, you talk fast. They talk slow, you talk slow. If they slur, you slur. Serious. It's a serious thing. Um, Continue to be vulnerable and continue to share life experiences, share what you've gone through, share who you are and what got you where you are today in owning your residential real estate. If you own multiple homes and this person's an investor, it's a great opportunity to share your investment experience. You like flipping? I've helped a flipper flip multiple houses, but I had to show him how I've been involved in flipping since the beginning of my career. I had to talk to him about that. And then he trusted me to teach him. And I taught him so much that he now owns multiple properties in another state. And I actually ended up buying one of his fourplexes that he owned before he moved. And so I taught him, I helped him with his first flip. Would he have trusted me if I didn't share any experience? Heck no. He would have moved on to the next guy. Tactical moments of silence. You guys feel so comfortable right now, don't you? You're like all of a sudden listening because you stopped listening to me. You were zoning me out until I got quiet and didn't talk. If you're talking too much, you might be hurting yourself. If you're needing to get an answer to something, like say somebody comes back and says, hey, is there any chance you'll do it for 1.5%? Okay. It's a bit low, I know. How about two? Would two work? I understand. I just thought I would try. They're gonna do that. Try it. It works every time. Just be quiet when they try to say 1%. If you're on the phone, they'll be like, hello? Are you there? When you're quiet and you don't answer, they're like, hello? And you're gonna be like, oh, I'm still here. I'm really trying to figure this out. And then you go quiet again. Don't say anything. Well, I just thought I would ask. I mean, if it's a bit low, it's okay. That's what's going to happen. They're going to start talking. Choose to be quiet. Tactically be quiet. Choose. Start going too fast. Start talking too much with your hands. You start to scare people. You high eyes, you be careful with that because you talk with your hands way too dang much. Knock it off. It scares people. I hate to say this, but I tend to think they are oh, never mind. We go over that. That's the best negotiator. Um, okay, so watch all the CSI shows you want. There's no police detective out there that say my way or the highway. So stop trying to force it. There's no perfect peg for the hole. Everything is modifiable and usable. So don't be forceful. Talk about hard-nosed negotiations. There's no such thing. Okay. Hard-nosed negotiations is where you listen, rewarding them for everything they say. If they're arguing, let them argue. They will get tired. They'll totally get tired. Let them argue. If they're upset and they're trying to force the envelope, let them. They're going to get tired. And then you can go in there. So here's a fun one. So if someone calls me, or I have to call them and I have to say, hey, just want to let you know, I just got an offer on the property. This guy came in at $50,000 low. And they're going to be like, what? What the flip? They're wasting my gosh dang time. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to go like, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, no, it is a bit of a waste of time. Yeah. But I do have an option. Here's an option. There's this thing. It's called negotiation tactics, right? There's the acronym method and there's the meet in the middle method. It's a fun thing to do, and I think you should have a good time doing this. Let's play with this guy a little bit. Let's play it. Let's use an acronym method. So what we do is we take a percentage, blah, 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 blah. We went over the negotiations a couple of weeks ago. You guys want to go back to the YouTube page, rewatch it. It's a great one. Talks about the negotiation methods. And now you're giving them options. You're going to de-escalate that situation. I had one yesterday. All right, I had a California property that had the ugliest flipping a pest inspection I've ever seen in my life. The worst one. That they even put a number on there of how much they would pay to do the repairs. $16,000. Guys, this is a 1,000 square foot house, and they're saying $16,000 worth of termite repairs. I was pissed. I called the termite company, and I had to be careful because and my wife goes, "Uh-oh, here we go," because she's sitting in the passenger seat. And I go, "I'm gonna be calm. I'm gonna do it. You watch." And I chilled out and I said, "Hey, just kind of wanted to go over this a little bit with you, and just kind of chilled out, kept it descaled, keep it down." And that was a fine conversation. But when I had to call the buyer right away, instant stress. They're wanting to buy this dream property. And this little home they've owned forever has been a tough one. It's been causing a lot of stress on them. And so here we go. What are we doing? Well, here's the deal. So we have options. Here's the fun part. I've got options for you. One, the numbers they give you, I don't even like when pest companies give numbers out. To me, it's a conflict of interest. They shouldn't be a contractor and a termite company telling you there's $16,000 worth of repairs. Prove it. Send me pictures. None of them have pictures. Pest Control was the best out there. He would take pictures for me and show them. That way I could see that it was legit. But he also would not do the repairs. He said it was a conflict, so he wouldn't do the repairs. They moved to Tennessee. They closed down, unfortunately. But that was my favorite. Todd Tennant was the best. Anyway, so this pest company did a big laundry with us. So I said, here's the deal. We could get a handyman out there. I've got a great finished carpenter that can get out there and do this work. I bet you he'll do it for a quarter of the cost. And he's an excellent finished carpenter. We can get him out there to do the work. We'll get some quotes from him. That's number one. Number two, let's go back to the seller or the buyer and say, hey, here's the deal. We got this report. It is crazy ugly, crazy dirty. And I just am really thinking that this might be, kind of boasting it up because they want to do the work. I'm not feeling comfortable with it at all. And see what they say. Say, are you okay with us doing a second opinion report? It was an investor. It's an investor buying it anyway. They're not going to care as long as they have a cleared section 1. They feel fine. Or we could do that. My suggestion is option number 2 to start with. Let's see. We got to disclose it anyway. Let's see if we can get them to let us do a second opinion. Okay. Oh, just took a whole load off of them that I gave them options. No longer stressed. Okay. I called the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent goes, "Oh, shoot, you guys should do a second opinion." I'm like, "You're the best ever. I didn't even have to ask." That's what we're going to do. We got a second opinion going out today. So, our job is to de-escalate situations. You're going to have some hard conversations in there. You're going to have some people yelling at you. And your job is not to yell back. If you yell back, you're no better than them. You got to let them think let them understand that this is a tough situation. Yep, I understand. Validate everything they say and then give them options. That's going to fix everything. Almost everything. Give them options. They may not like it. They may hang up. Sometimes they'll hang up on you, but they're going to think about it. And then they're going to text you a little while later and say, okay, let's do option number 2. Watch. It works. streamer and matching in a heated debate with another agent to the point that you're bothering them and they start to steamroll you. What do? Well, same thing. Let them do it. Laugh while they're doing it, not out loud though. Don't let them know you're laughing. But then come back later and say, look, I understand the frustration with the situation. I think I always use this all the time. You guys that know me, you know this. There's always a key to fit the hole. We just got to find the right key. We just got to find the right key. So let's find the right key to fit the hole. We can make this work. We all have contractors. We all have this, whatever the situation is. Let them do it, and then let's get down there and get to business. Because you're a business person. All right. That's all I got for you guys today. Any questions? You guys ready to go out and talk to people now?
Hey, Shawn, I
Yeah.
have a question. You said that on the disc that the high D was the driving force, the high H was the party person. What is the high S and the high C?
So
Is that the stable?
yeah, so the D is your driver. They're typically the one that wants to get on the stage and sing a song. They like to sing, right? They like to be. I like all the show. The I thought you said H, but it's an I. So the I, see this. The I is your intellectual, your very social butterflies. The S is your very stable, structured. They like teams. They like groups. They like having structure in their business. So I'll scroll down right here and look at it. So very predictable, passive, a little bit passive, complacent, stable though. They're very stable. They're very level-headed typically. So they understand, they're totally good with common sense. You can definitely get them to understand. They'll usually listen. They're very teachable and coachable. So you can teach them something. I always tell people I'm a bit of an over-explainer, and understand at any point in time you can shut me up. I'm a high S. I'm an over explainer. I want to over explain things. I want to make sure people feel comfortable. So that's that. So very stable structure. They're very steady, meaning that a lot of times they'll stay at the same job for a long time. They won't jump. I've been at Keller Williams and owning my own brokerage. I tell people I bleed red. I love Keller Williams. I just don't believe the local KW offices are as good as what Gary Keller is. Gary Keller is a flippin' genius. And so I can take Gary Keller's stuff into my independent brokerage and actually do that and other stuff too. I love KW. I love KW for the fact that I like Gary Keller, but I don't like the local brokerage. I just, not that I don't like them, they're good people. I just don't feel they portray what Gary Keller really wants. I would have stayed with KW forever if they did. Okay, if they did. And so I'm not a jumper. I'm not going to jump around to a bunch of places. They're very stable and steady people. We stick to something. It's hard to get us to move and change and to change. But getting a little restless sometimes. Sometimes I will get a little restless on some things. I can see that. A little chaotic, very active. I'm very sports. I love sports. I love everything sports, from golf to baseball, football, basketball. You name it, I'm going to try to do it. So that's your S. Did I answer it all, or do you want me to continue to C?
And C is just cautious, perfectionist.
It's your accountant. Your
Okay.
accountant is a high C. Your banker is a high C. Typical lenders have a lot of high C. I met with one this morning. He's an SC. He's more C than S. He's a lender. Mortgage loan brokers, they're typically Cs. Yeah, they're numbers people. They love spreadsheets. They typically love to create spreadsheets. They're good at creating them. Where the high S, they like to use spreadsheets. They love that structure, but they're not so good at making them and creating them. They want someone to create it for them and give it to them. There you
Okay,
go.
thank you.
Very welcome. Great questions. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? No? Guys, you know my email address, Shawn@CardozaREgroup.com. Reach out if you have any questions or need any content. I'm here for you. Don't hesitate. Shawn@CardozaRE, short for real estate, group.com. Send me an email and I'll reply back with whatever content you're missing. Have a blessed 4th of July. Enjoy your family. And I'll talk to you on Monday next week. Don't forget about the huddle. Have a good one, guys.